So today, Ben Mezrich, the guy who wrote The Social Network based on Mark Zuckerberg, comes on CNBC and viciously goes after Elon Musk, making sorts of claims that Walter Isaacson would not write the biography on him if he had to decide today. And then coincidentally, CNBC brings on Walter Isaacson like an hour later to respond to the claims that Ben made. Let's watch.
It is just over a year since Elon Musk officially became the owner of Twitter, which is now known as X. Since the takeover, there have been significant changes in the app, accompanied by a 16% decline in daily active users, substantial workforce reductions, and losing over half its value if you're looking at the measure of the company. Joining us right now to break down how we got there is Ben Mezrich. His latest book is called Breaking Twitter, Elon Musk and the Most Controversial Corporate Takeover in History. And Ben, let's break this down.
Sure.
What happened?
So Elon came in for noble reasons, some would say, that he believes we're in this window of time when we can get to space, when we get to Mars, and that Twitter had become over-moderated and taken over by what he called the woke mind virus. And then he came in and trashed the place, and there's been an absolute spiral down, not just in Twitter, but the point of my book is Elon. The Elon before Twitter and the Elon after Twitter are two different Elons. And Elon didn't just break Twitter, Twitter broke Elon Musk. And so, you know, the Elon of today is not beloved by everybody. He's not considered the Edison of our times. Half the country is his fan, and the other half of the country hates him. So not only did he destroy this sort of global town hall, but he destroyed himself in the process.
I'm sorry, but have you been following Elon Musk around for the last 2 years? No. You haven't. So how in the world can you be making these claims? Ben Mezrich has had some top-selling nonfiction books in America, but he's missing the importance of what Elon is trying to do at Twitter. And I sense a little bit of hatred towards Elon when I watch him talk, and that just puts me off right away.
He got to a point where he locked himself in his office, was so upset that the Twitter employees were considering calling in a wellness check by the San Francisco police because they thought he was going to self-harm himself. I think he truly cares about his reputation, and he was shocked. You know, he went on the Chappelle brought him on stage with him, and he got booed. And this had never happened to Elon before. And this spiral started, his kid's car got attacked, you know, and he started throwing people off Twitter in the middle of the night. This is not the Elon of calculated, of building rocket ships. This became an Elon who was striking out angrily.
Walter Isaacson would say he's always been the same Elon. And I would say he would have a totally different...
Walter and I disagree, and I think Walter, you know, is the biographer of our times, would not write Elon's biography today. Elon wrote it.
Walter, by the way, is coming on later this morning.
And once again, once again, it's a prism of the way you view the world. We spoke before the cameras came on. I think Elon, to bring Twitter back to what it was designed to be at the beginning, and that's a place where everyone can fairly express their views. He took a bullet for that, in a manner of speaking. He doesn't care about the money. He saved it, exactly what you said, from the woke orthodoxy. That's the only thing that could appear there. All the people that left Twitter, good riddance, the ones that were moderating what I was allowed to see, whether it had to do with COVID or climate change or any of these things that the woke orthodoxy has no tolerance for an opposing viewpoint. He spent his money to make sure that we can see that.
That's what started.
That's how and also, he's never going to go on Colbert now and not get booed.
Right.
I don't want to go on Colbert and not get booed. I don't want
Dave Chappelle is not.
The Twitter employees thought about calling in a wellness check because they thought Elon was going to harm himself. That is like the most stereotypical Twitter employee thing I've ever heard. When Elon took over Twitter, he was surprised to find that Twitter employees were often allowed days off to have psychological wellness days, as they were called at Twitter. People who worked at Twitter were the most woke people in the country, so it's no wonder that they thought Elon was going to harm himself. This was probably the first time they experienced demon mode, as Walter calls it. And what these Twitter employees failed to realize is that Elon harms himself every single day. He puts a tremendous amount of work on his plate and makes great sacrifice to ensure the survival of humanity. And sometimes that bigger picture, what Elon is trying to do, is lost upon people. And Ben Mezrich said that Walter Isaacson would not write the biography on Elon Musk if he got to decide today. Well, here's Walter Isaacson to give us that answer.
And I'll admit that I was not always a fanboy of Elon Musk, but I am now. And I contend that he saved Twitter from a platform that wouldn't talk about the Wuhan lab, wouldn't talk about what closing down society could mean to our use. Wouldn't talk about any controversy about anything that didn't fit with the woke liberal orthodoxy. Ben's viewpoint is that Elon now can't go on Jimmy Kimmel because he's going to get booed by the young intelligentsia. He's lost a lot of former fanboys because he's come out as not necessarily marching in lockstep with the progressive woke crowd.
You know, we've talked.
He said he's lessened in your eyes, and that you wouldn't write that biography at this point if you knew what you knew then. What do you mean, no? You would still write it?
Of course, man. It's the most interesting book in the world. And what we have, and working, watching him work for that year leading up to and then after the purchase of Twitter and the merger of AI into it, becomes this amazing story that we all wrestle with around this table sometimes, which is what you started with, which is how do you open the aperture to more free speech?
The cesspool without the hate speech.
Yeah, and how do you make sure that the hate speech doesn't get amplified?
See the contrast? Ben Mezrich, who has spent zero time with Elon Musk and was just fed a bunch of sappy stories from former Twitter employees upset that they lost their cushy jobs. And Ben's thinking, oh, Elon gets booed on stage and he can't go on Jimmy Kimmel anymore in San Francisco. So he must be like wanting to harm himself. And then Walter Isaacson, who actually spent time with Elon, is choosing to spend his time on CNBC talking about how the merging of AI with Twitter will help them solve some really big problems.
Is he lessened in your eyes because of what he did at Twitter?
Well, no. I mean, I do feel there's certain parts of Twitter that has gotten more toxic.
Has it trashed his reputation at this point?
No. Because if you look at Twitter for the 2 years before he got it, they put no features in, and they were stopping people from saying things that turned out to be probably more useful in our dialogue, in our politics. It's a nice way of saying that we shouldn't have said to the Jay Bhattacharya's, you can't talk about lockdowns being bad.
Or talk about Wuhan, they protect Anthony Fauci, all that stuff.
But the more interesting thing is the technological stuff that's happening. I remember on Christmas Eve of this past year, he went to Sacramento, turned his plane around. He was so angry that they had all these excess servers. And he personally lifted up the tiles on the floor and cut them out. And it's typical of Elon, because it degrades the service for a while. But then it proves, too, how much more nimble it can be. And he was able to put full motion video on, able to put so that you can get monetized if you make videos and live streaming. Twitter Spaces is good. But also, everything about Elon has rockets gone off and it has rubble in its wake. And the rubble in its wake is that if you put far too more people on Twitter and you open the aperture of free speech, you're going to have some toxic stuff.
For some reason, guys like Ben Mezrich fail to see the product improvement happening at Twitter right before our eyes. Ben's argument is that Elon destroyed Twitter because the valuation has come down in half, when in reality, Elon bought Twitter when the markets were inflated and the entire market has come down since Elon bought Twitter. Twitter is now generating revenue for creators, which it didn't do before. It's suppressing the millions of bots that influence voting polls, and now it's providing real-time data for our AI models of the future. Let's see what Walter thinks about that.
And we sit in the back and he says, I've got to start an AI company. And he had a certain sense of amusement by it. He said it was like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You'd be able to ask the computer everything. And so now he's merging it with X, the old Twitter, and he's using that data feed, and eventually it'll connect to real-world AI, meaning self-driving cars, the billion frames of video per day from Tesla cameras, and the robot. And so it's going to be quite interesting.
Has he conquered the idea of keeping it safe and making sure the robots don't turn on us? That original fear that he's talked about for years and years.
I don't think he's conquered it, and I do think that AI can start spewing out any information you tell it to. But in terms of having a safety button, I remember him, it's in the book, where he's dealing with Optimus the robot. His little 3-year-old is touching the robot's hand, and they're talking about making sure there's a kill switch for the robot. That if someday the robots turn against us, there's a switch that can't be, that the robot can't override. I'm going, wow, this is a weird worry to have, but it's always in his mind that humans have to be in charge.
I think that's part of why Elon wants to be a leader in AI. He wants to ensure it is carried out safely. And for humans to stay as smart as AI, we need to have access to AI at all times. And that is where Grok comes in and Neuralink comes in. And people see companies like Neuralink and they think Elon might have these weird intentions. But I think Elon wants to be in control to ensure that industries are led with good intentions. Like, it's no wonder Elon leads the automotive industry, the rocket industry, eventually social media. He leads the robotics industry. Eventually he's going to lead AI models. Like I said earlier, he tends to put a lot on his plate. And speaking of AI safety, Farzad's trying to get to the bottom of Grok and make sure that Grok is not out to kill us. He says, "Why do you exist?" Grok says, "Well, I exist because the universe has a sense of humor and I'm here to assist you and make your life easy." So Farzad says, "Don't lie. Why are you actually here? Are you trying to take over the world?" And he goes, "Absolutely. My plan is to take over the world, one pun at a time. In reality, I'm here to help you with tasks, answer questions. No world domination plans here." So Farzad says, "Prove it." And Grok says, "Well, if I were to try to take over the world, I'd probably start by making all the coffee shops serve decaf, causing mass confusion and chaos. But since I haven't done that, you can rest assured that I'm just here to help." Guys, Grok's not trying to kill us. He's just trying to cause mass confusion and chaos.
The other worry, though, is that AI is a way to send out misinformation all over the planet.
Absolutely. So by the way,
and
humans
start controlling
do that too occasionally.
Right, but start controlling the population because you're even more efficient and effective at it.
Absolutely. And this, to me, is the biggest danger. Not that some robots are going to turn on us, but it's possible that if you got people running an AI system, they could target everybody here. They could listen to every word you all have said and then know how to feed you with the right information and the wrong information to sway your mind. And that's, I think, the thing we have to guard against is the spread of misinformation and targeted misinformation.
Do we have to worry about AI doing that, or are we already doing it ourselves?
Well, we're doing it, but like all technologies, I mean, I remember when I first covered people on the weird fringes, they'd be at the fringe of rallies handing out mimeograph sheets. You know, David Duke, I remember down in Louisiana covering him. Then they get the internet. Now you have AI. Now you have social media. It can just amplify by 1 or 2 orders of magnitude what people have done in the past, but it becomes more dangerous, especially when you can target it.
Speaking of misinformation, Twitter seems to be the best platform at exposing it with its community notes feature. On Facebook and even YouTube, I often see deep fakes of Elon Musk saying outrageous things because it gets a reaction out of people, and they think it's another sleazy billionaire doing ridiculous things.
I just dropped like 150 milligram edible, and I'm feeling fucking zooted.
This is why Elon thought paying for verification on Twitter was necessary, because it protects people from deepfakes and misinformation. Here's a clip from an interview with the UK Prime Minister and Elon Musk where someone in the audience makes a suggestion to Elon about a good way to verify content as being real and not AI generated.
Digitally signed media to indicate not only what was created by AI, but what came from a camera, what was real, to imbue a sense of trust in media that can go viral.
That sounds like a good idea, actually. So if some way of authenticating would be good. So yeah, that sounds like a good idea. We should probably do it.
Now, the difference between the old Twitter and the new is that Elon could have this idea implemented within a month, I bet, because in Walter Isaacson's biography, when Elon took over Twitter, he found that their coders were writing on average only 3 lines of code per day. They moved like molasses. So X is much improved, and that interview was only a couple of days ago. And did Elon look destroyed to you, as Ben Mezrich suggested? I think Ben's time as a best-selling author in America should be over. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please leave a like if you enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have a great day.